Hi, and welcome to Write, Learn, and Earn. So, if you're an author and you want to sell more books, then you need to get in front of as many people as possible. And today I've got with me Michael Angel, who is a multi-genre writer, and he's going to be chatting a little bit to us about Storyorigin. Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I would really want to ask you right from upstart, you got two genres. How's that working out for you?
It's working very well. I wish I was more overlap, but for your viewers, I write originally started in epic fantasy. This is part of a 10-book series that I write, starting off with Centaur of the Crime. And there's kind of a science forensics element to it. And so that carried over into what I went into next, which was medical thrillers. Yeah, I know, very close connection. And this is The Devil's Noose, the opening book to that series. It's a 4-book series. And while there isn't a huge amount of overlap between my fan bases, it has done fairly well. And I have to give Storyorigin credit for bringing in the readership that I have.
Oh, excellent. I love Storyorigin. I discovered it sort of the beginning of lockdown, and it was really such a wonderful way for me to grow my database. But you started from zero. And absolutely zero, and you've achieved phenomenal results. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Okay. I originally signed on with Storyorigin because I was looking for a platform similar to BookFunnel, and I was recommended it by a local authoress named Maria Schneider. And I found out that Storyorigin was founded by a gentleman who lived here, Evan Gao, who lived here in Austin, my home city. So I talked with him, got involved in it, and really learned how to use it. Since then, I went from 0 subscribers to, last I checked, probably a total of around 4,800 people who follow me now. It's pretty good. About 2/3 of them are in fantasy, about 1/3 are in thriller. I only started promoting the thrillers a little bit later on, but Storyorigin, especially considering that it's, for the moment, knock on wood, free, has been a phenomenal way to create a community of people that follow my work and will purchase my books when I put them out and do reviews for me, things like that. It's been phenomenal.
So a big question that new people have is, a lot of people say you can earn a lot of money as an author if your books are on KU. Now, you've actually achieved some good results with KU as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that, about your strategy, how it's worked out for you, and have you used Storyorigin for that?
Yes, use Storyorigin quite a bit for it, actually. What I did in the beginning when I initially used Storyorigin, I focused on certain promotions called giveaways. These will allow you to get people to sign up for your list, and if they like your work, they will retain it. I've shifted about 50-50 from that into what are called Kindle Unlimited group promotions, specifically because they make me more money. Now, for your viewers who may not know, Kindle Unlimited, you get paid a certain amount of money per page read. So the idea is to maximize the number of pages read if you want to increase your income. Now, the way you do this is, I think, twofold. Number one, it helps to build out a complete series. This takes a bit of time, but if you like writing a through line, a through plot, people love it. People are naturally completionists. If they like what they read in book one, remember, writing is a lot like food. If you've ever been to a restaurant and you really like a dish there, you're tempted to come back and sample more of the dishes at that restaurant. You like that flavor. Those of you who like, say, Stephen King has a very definitively specific author voice. If you like that voice, you'll read all of his books. Here's part two, and this is the easy part. You can make a good deal more money on Kindle Unlimited. Once you have the series, let's say you have 9 books, put them out on Kindle Unlimited, and then combine them together to make, say, 3 trilogies. Put them together as epic fantasy part 1, books 1 through 3, part 2, part 3. People feel if they can get something at a bargain, which you'd normally sell this for, say, $9.99 instead of $2.99, they're more apt to go for it. I've had much better. I've almost doubled the number of Kindle Unlimited reads I've had by having longer form works out there. And remember, Kindle Unlimited is not your average Amazon reader. They're what's called hyper readers. They eat books like chiclets. I've had people bore through 900 pages in a day. I don't think you'd pay me to read 900 pages in a day unless I really liked it. So that's, I believe, the key: long form and packaging your work in a way that encourages those hyper readers to take on a whole series.
So I love the Kindle Unlimited idea. That's something that I'm trying to gun for with my own series. But what is a specific strategy? Because when you open up Storyorigin as a new person, there's just like stuff all over the place, and it can be a little bit terrifying. You're like, okay, what is the strategy you follow as a routine to be able to build?
Okay, that's a good question. I felt the same way. For those of you who are starting on Storyorigin, there's a lot of options. I took like 3 days out of my schedule just to learn it and figure out how things worked. The good news is, if you make a mistake, number one, nobody gets on your case, and number two, it doesn't cost you anything. So don't feel afraid there, okay? What I would do first off is start by joining group promotions, okay? Depending on what you want and what you have available. If you have like 1 or 2 books and you don't really have a readership base, then by all means start with some group giveaways, okay? Join these promotions. You'll start getting people into your fan base. Oh, and I'm sorry, I have to back up one step. You need to have something else set up. You need to have a system in place to capture those emails. That's the point of this. You're harvesting, so to speak, people's addresses to add to your list. It's up to them whether they stay or not, but you've got to make sure you do this. I used for a very long time MailChimp and shifted over to something else, which we can talk about later if you want. But you have to have that in place. Join promotions and then start doing it regularly. Start like making a newsletter that comes out, say, I do once a month. Some people do twice a month or a weekly. That's just too much maintenance for me. But make sure that you sign up for, say, 4 or 5 group promotions, and then add people on, authors, to swap with you. What's called a newsletter swap. And what's funny is doing newsletter swaps is like collecting cards or collecting stamps or Pokemon or something. Here's what I mean. A lot of authors, myself, for example, generally don't have minimums on how many people you want to have in a mailing group before you join. Okay. Other people, say 5,000 people on their list, won't swap with you unless you have, say, 500 on your side. So in other words, you're kind of building, and once you build, you're more freedom to join more promos, because now you have the reader base that allows you kind of like an entree into the higher echelons. So think of it like a game, I don't know, poker or just collecting stamps. It's a lot of fun. The key to this is, number one, do it regularly. Monthly is fine. Don't go for quarterly. People will forget you and they'll drop off your email list. At least monthly. Number two, don't overwhelm your readership with too much choice. Remember, they're going to be skimming through your newsletter. You want to tell them what you're up to up front, but then I wouldn't go for more than 4 or 5 promotions and then 4 or 5 swaps. It maximizes the number of new people could come coming in to see your stuff, but you don't overwhelm people with, like, say, 30 things. They'll just skim right by it and they'll pick maybe the 1 or 2 at the top. That's been my experience.
And what I also love about it is that you get to connect, you get to have a community. So what I found with the other platforms that are available, you don't always build a community. In this way, I've met some people that regularly I do swaps with, because we know each other, we trust each other, and you can connect. And they've even got a Facebook group where people can connect with other authors in the genre, which is basically how you and I met. We met through doing a swap initially.
Mm-hmm.
So, any kind of special advice that you would give, little hacks that you've come up with that maybe is not obvious on the system?
A couple. I'll give you a couple. I was talking about the strategy at the start. As you get more familiar with Storyorigin, one of the key factors is to run your own group promotions. This is a big step for people, but it's really pretty easy. You'll want to put together a promotion that has, say, a theme that relates to your work. Let's say you did romance, right? And it's fall. Create a group promotion called Autumn Romances, for example, something that you can put your books on and then attract other people to it. By doing this, you get a lot more insight, you get a lot more activity on your site, and you get to preview how, say, 20, 30, 40 people who sign up for that group promotion, you could actually see on Storyorigin how they perform, what's the true size of their audience, how active that audience is. For example, I had a couple people on a promotion recently where I accepted them into the group promotion. One had 5,000 people on their mailing list. The other one had 1,000. But at the end of the day, I looked at the stats. The person with 5,000 people on their subscription list had maybe 20 people who signed up or clicked on anything. The one with 1,000 had about 500 people click or sign up. That tells me even though the author with 1,000 has a smaller list, it's more active. They're a more active author. They engage their audience better. And that's the person you're going to swap with, even though the other person may have a larger audience. Key to putting up a group promotion, by the way, believe it or not, aside from theme, is banner art. Banner art is a picture you select to represent what ad you're doing for a group promotion. And what you need, this is the basics, I think, is number one, have a picture that relates to your theme. If you're doing autumn romance, don't put up a slasher picture, okay? That's right out. Number two, put the right information on there. There's people who put autumn romance and that's it. No, you need to put the dates you're running the promotion, what the genre is, just for the people who are skimming, and you need to tell me what type it is. If it's, for example, just for Kindle Unlimited, I click on it and I'm not a Kindle Unlimited reader, you just wasted my time. And I'm going to be more resistant to looking at your promotions in the future if I'm a user. So all those, I think, are tips that people need to know because, let's be honest, not a lot of them do it.
You're absolutely right. And I think the quality of the banner art makes a big difference, because sometimes I look at promos and then I'm like, this doesn't even look vaguely related to something that I'm looking for. Now, what people don't always realize is you can get something like Canva, or you can get pixels, and you can import art. You can actually make it look incredibly professional. Because for me, if I look at the banner and it looks unprofessional, then I'm going to think, well, probably the books inside here are going to be dreadful as well.
Excellent point.
And that's not really doing any of the authors that you're swapping with justice, but there are just very simple ways that you can create really nice looking art on Canva. And I will do a follow-up video for people that they can see how I put together my banner art. And I agree with you in terms of creating your own promo. It makes such a big difference, because sometimes there are authors out there that are in your genre, but they don't know how to create a promo. And so when you create your own artwork and you load it onto the Facebook group, then you can actually start controlling the kinds of people that are going to be inside your promo. So I want to find out, what is the next thing that's on the list for you in terms of writing?
Well, I'll tell you right now, I finished my 10-book fantasy series. What I'm doing now is I'm building out my thriller series. And I'm seeking to build it out either to say 7 or 10 books. I'm currently working on book number 5. And the 5th book, you're going to love this, is a zombie thriller. It's called The Lazarus Outbreak. And it's a little bit more pulpy, a little more out there because of the nature of the fiction. And I'll share with you a very funny story. When I initially looked at doing medical thrillers, I do not have a medical background. I've worked with a lot of doctors. I have a couple epidemiologists that I know who I talk with quite a bit. And I'm trying to make mine reasonably scientifically accurate. I figured audience expectations are such where if you don't get it right, then they're not going to like it. Well, what I really should have done, and I did later on, is I went and started reading some of the books that were at the top of the genre, particularly independent authors. The first book I read involved a virus that turned people into werewolves. And the other one I read had a Nazi submarine buried in Antarctica that when they opened it, released a plague that turned on the genes in all humanity were implanted into us by aliens. After that, I didn't care so much about scientific accuracy. It's obviously not something the audience cares about. I didn't worry about that anymore. So that's going to be my next one, is I'll be building out my medical thriller series. It does focus on stopping pandemics, and it is reasonably scientifically accurate. Probably about as good as your average Hollywood movie, at least.
And there is a link. So if everyone looks at the description underneath this video, you're going to see that Michael has shared a link that you can grab a free novella. And so that's going to do 2 things for you. Number 1, you're going to find out more about Michael's writing. And number 2, you're going to experience what it is like from a reader's perspective to sign on for a newsletter via Storyorigin. So I'd really encourage you to do that. And Michael's got some excellent reviews. So I know that his books are just going to be brilliant. So Michael, anything else that you want to say in closing? Any final things that we can glean from you?
Well, I highly recommend coming on to the next video that we're going to have up here, because I've had questions before as to how to manage your list as it gets beyond a certain size. I'm a big believer in the cost of free. And especially when you're starting out, most beginning writers can't afford to put, say, $20 or $50 or $100 out a month. You're not generating enough income yet just to manage your email list. So that's why tips and tricks like using Canva to create great art are so valuable. But this would be a great way to learn how to keep your budget under control, especially if you get over a couple thousand subscribers.
Excellent, Michael. Thank you so much. And yes, everyone remember to subscribe to our channel so that you get notifications. If you hit the little bell, you're going to get notifications of when our next videos are going to come up. Remember to download Michael's book. And if you want to get monthly tips from me in terms of newsletters, remember to subscribe to my newsletter, the Write, Learn and Earn one, not my normal author one. Michael, thank you so much for being here. And to everyone else, bye for now. See you at the next video.
Bye-bye.